Hey there, welcome to another deep dive. So today we're going beyond, the posters and the textbooks. We're going deep into the life and work of Albert Einstein.
It's going to be exciting.
It really is. We're going to try to uncover the man behind the equation, E.M. Sayedich. Come on, who really gets that?
Right.
So to help us along, we'll be using excerpts from a collection of sources we found. We're calling it Einstein's Greatest Hits for this deep dive.
Yeah.
Get ready, because some of this stuff is pretty wild. You are not going to believe some of this stuff. For instance, did you know Einstein actually struggled in school? Like, he wasn't a model student or anything.
It's true. I mean, his early life really challenges our ideas about genius. He wasn't into rote memorization at all. Einstein was all about understanding, constantly questioning.
A regular rebel.
Yeah, and those qualities weren't exactly what teachers were looking for back in the rigid 19th century, but they were essential for all the amazing breakthroughs he made later on.
So true. It's like, nurture the curiosity.
Looks it.
Which reminds me, there's this amazing detail about Einstein's mom.
Well,
Pauline, his mother, really encouraged his love of music, especially the violin.
oh, yeah.
Can you imagine? The guy who, cracked the code of the universe was also a musician.
It's pretty incredible when you think about it. Some scholars actually believe that Einstein's, improvising on the violin, it helped him visualize those complex scientific concepts later on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like his brain got used to finding those patterns, those harmonies, whether in music or, the laws of physics.
Whoa. So we've got young Albert. He's questioning everything, exploring through music, and then he becomes, wait for it, a patent clerk.
Aha, yeah.
Not exactly the typical path to a scientific revolution.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
But that's exactly where he found himself. Picture this, 1905. We call it Einstein's miracle year.
Miracle year.
Yeah, but he's not in some fancy lab. Einstein's reviewing patent applications, everyday stuff. And in his spare time, this is the kicker, he publishes not one, not two, but 4 groundbreaking papers that totally shake up the world of physics.
Okay, hold on. We've got to talk about this miracle year. This guy's a patent clerk working 9 to 5, right?
Right.
And in his spare time, he's like, oh, I think I'll just revolutionize our understanding of light, redefine gravity, and, lay the foundation for quantum physics. Like, what? And he publishes papers on, the photoelectric effect, Brownian motion, special relativity. It's insane.
It really shows you the power of a mind that never stops asking why. Even when you're stuck in the daily grind, amazing things can happen. And keep in mind, this was right before the internet, before you could just Google something. Einstein's genius wasn't just the ideas. It was his ability to take all this knowledge, connect it, and see the universe in a totally new way.
Okay. So for those of us who aren't, physics geniuses, I'm raising my hand here, can we break down one of these groundbreaking concepts? How about EC phi? Because I'll be honest, that equation is on every dorm room poster ever, but do I actually understand it? No.
It's such a simple-looking equation for something so profound, right?
Right.
Think about it. Energy and mass. Not as separate things, but as 2 sides of the same coin. Einstein showed us that you can actually convert mass into energy, and the other way around, with the speed of light squared as the, the conversion factor.
So instead of energy and mass being separate things, they're totally connected in this crazy equation.
Yeah.
But what does that even mean in real life?
It totally changed how we see the universe. I mean, that equation means a tiny bit of mass can unleash a massive amount of energy. Think about the atomic bomb.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it completely changed how we think about warfare. But it also gave us things like nuclear power. And even more than that, it helps us understand how stars are born, how they die, the nature of black holes, the fabric of the cosmos. It was a total game changer.
And all of this from a guy who at the time was best known for evaluating inventions at the patent office. Talk about a side hustle.
It really makes you think. Breakthroughs can happen anywhere, right? Sometimes a regular job can actually be the perfect breeding ground for amazing ideas.
And Einstein's story.
Oh, it doesn't stop there. He didn't just drop these bombshells on everyone and peace out. He lived quite a life. Our Einstein's greatest hits source really dives into his life beyond the equations, and it's pretty dramatic, honestly.
Oh, for sure.
We're talking fleeing Nazi Germany, wrestling with the implications of the atomic bomb. Talk about real-world drama.
It just goes to show you he was brilliant, but he was also human, And I think that's an important part of his legacy. He didn't just stay in his lab or lecture halls. He felt a responsibility to use his intelligence, his platform, to do something more.
Right. He was incredibly vocal against anti-Semitism and became a huge advocate for peace. And think about when this was all
It
happening.
was a completely different world back then.
Exactly. This wasn't just some intellectual debate for him. It was deeply personal. Yeah, he was forced to flee his own country, saw the rise of one of history's most terrifying regimes. It was very real for him.
It's amazing, though, that even with all that, he never gave up on humanity. He spoke out against injustice even when it was risky.
Hmm.
It makes you think intelligence without compassion, without a sense of right and wrong, it's not enough.
Absolutely. And it actually makes his later work even more interesting, I think.
Like when he totally pushed back against the whole quantum mechanics thing,
Oh, yeah.
he even said something like, God does not play dice with the universe.
Famous quote.
Which, I mean, for someone so revolutionary in his thinking, that always seemed kind of odd to me.
It is interesting, isn't it? Because think about it. Even as he was debating those ideas, his work on general relativity was revealing a universe way weirder and more complicated than anyone had imagined.
So he was basically arguing against a universe that he himself was helping to uncover.
It's kind of a paradox, right?
Totally.
He understood that every answer just led to more questions, even bigger, more challenging questions. Einstein was never satisfied with easy answers. He was always testing boundaries, challenging his own beliefs as much as everyone else's.
Okay, that's both inspiring and a little intimidating at the same time. But it also makes me wonder, how is it that Einstein's work is still impacting the world today? I mean, we're talking about him almost 70 years after he died.
And there's a good reason for that. Take general relativity, for example. That's not just some old theory stuck in a textbook. It's the bedrock of modern astrophysics.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
Are you telling me the guy who came up with ENCA4 while reviewing patents also figured out how we understand black holes and gravitational waves?
Exactly. His work basically predicted things that we're only now able to see directly with all our fancy technology. Einstein's fingerprints are all over how we understand the universe today.
Mind officially blown. I always knew he was a big deal, but I never realized how massive his impact truly is. It's like he peeled back a layer of reality and showed us something totally new.
That's the thing about those real game changers, you know? Their work keeps echoing, keeps sparking new questions and discoveries long after they're gone.
It makes you wonder, if Einstein were around today, what would he be working on? What mysteries would he be trying to solve?
Now, that is a question worth thinking about.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it, right? This guy had all these groundbreaking scientific discoveries, but he was also dealing with some serious personal challenges.
It really makes you think about the whole idea of genius, doesn't it? Like Einstein's story reminds us that brilliance and, well, just being human, they go hand in hand.
Huh.
He was brilliant, but he had his struggles too.
Totally. We tend to put historical figures up on these pedestals, but Einstein's life shows us that even the smartest people are shaped by their experiences.
Right, like having to escape Nazi persecution as a refugee, that had a huge impact on how he saw the world.
Yeah, and it definitely fueled his activism, like when he spoke out against injustice. He knew his words carried weight, and he used his platform to fight for peace and understanding.
Which is even more incredible when you remember what was going on back then. I mean, the world was on the verge of another war, and here's Einstein urging everyone to choose diplomacy, to choose reason and compassion over violence.
He saw firsthand how destructive hatred could be.
Exactly. And that brings us to a really interesting part of his legacy, his complicated relationship with the atomic bomb.
Right, because everyone knows that his famous equation E equals MC poor was basically the key to developing nuclear weapons.
True, but we can't forget that Einstein was a pacifist at heart.
Oh, right.
He was totally against violence. In fact, he even wrote a letter to President Roosevelt warning him about the possibility of creating a weapon of mass destruction based on his research.
He actually tried to warn them.
He did. He was really worried about that kind of power falling into the wrong hands, and understandably so.
Yeah.
And then, after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, after seeing the devastation, he became a huge advocate for nuclear disarmament.
He really spent the rest of his life calling for peace and global cooperation.
He truly believed it was humanity's responsibility to prevent that kind of tragedy from ever happening again.
It makes you think, doesn't it? Scientific progress without thinking about the consequences can have terrifying results.
Oh, no doubt.
It's about understanding that knowledge comes with responsibility, especially the power to change the world like that.
Absolutely. But, despite all his doubts and struggles, Einstein ultimately used his influence to fight for a better world, a more peaceful world, and I think that says a lot about him.
It does. It's something that still resonates today.
It really does. But, hey, Why don't we shift gears for a bit and get back to Einstein's scientific work, specifically his work on general relativity?
Okay, because as fascinating as his personal life is, we can't forget he was, first and foremost, a brilliant physicist.
Exactly. And his theory of general relativity, which, by the way, he published in 1915. It's one of the most important achievements in modern science, period.
It's not just some theory in a textbook, right?
That
It actually changed how we understand the universe.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. General relativity basically gave us the framework for understanding gravity, not as a force, but as a curvature in space-time, caused by, get this, the presence of mass and energy.
Okay, I'm going to need a minute to process that.
It's mind-blowing, all right.
Totally.
Okay, so imagine a bowling ball on a trampoline.
Okay.
The bowling ball, that's your massive object, like a star or a planet. And the trampoline, that's space-time.
Got it.
Now, the bowling ball's weight, it makes the trampoline sag, creating a curve.
Right.
And that curvature, that's what we feel is gravity. Objects with less mass, like, say, a marble rolling on the trampoline, will be pulled towards the bowling ball following that curve in space-time.
So it's not like the bowling ball is actually pulling on the marble. It's more like the marble is just following the path created by the bowling ball warping the trampoline, which in this case is space-time.
Exactly. And that curvature doesn't just affect objects. It affects everything, even light.
Whoa.
Einstein's theory predicted that light from distant stars would bend as it passes by massive objects, like the sun.
And that prediction actually came true, right? During a solar eclipse back in 1919.
You got it. They observed starlight bending around the sun, and it was the first real proof of Einstein's theory.
So this wasn't just some abstract idea. This is a theory you could actually test, observe, and prove.
Precisely. And that's how you know a scientific theory is a game changer, when it makes predictions that you can actually verify.
And 100 years later, it's still holding up.
It's been tested over and over again, and it always checked out. It's an essential tool for anyone who studies the universe, astrophysicists, cosmologists, you name it.
It's hard to overstate how important that one theory turned out to be.
You can say that again. And you know what's even crazier? As much as it explained, general relativity also revealed new mysteries.
Real?
It pushed Einstein and every physicist since to tackle even bigger questions about the universe and how it works.
Like what kind of mysteries?
Well, for one, general relativity predicted the existence of black holes.
Black holes. Okay, now you're just messing with me.
I'm serious. These are areas of space-time where gravity is so intense that nothing, not even light, can escape.
Sounds like something straight out of Star Wars.
I know, right? But get this, we have tons of evidence that black holes are real. And they're not just some cosmic oddity. They play a big role in how galaxies form and evolve.
Wow.
And that's not all. General relativity also predicted something called gravitational waves, which are basically ripples in space-time caused by the acceleration of massive objects.
Ugh.
And guess what? We finally observed them directly in 2015, a whole century after Einstein predicted them.
No way. So Einstein's legacy is about way more than just the things he discovered while he was alive.
Exactly. It's also about all the doors he opened, all the new questions he made us ask. We're still exploring those questions today.
It's like he gave us this whole new way of looking at the universe, and it's showing us incredible things.
That's a great way to put it. And that brings us back to your earlier question. What would Einstein be working on if he were around today?
Right. What would have captured his attention? What mysteries would he be trying to solve?
No, those are questions that could keep us talking for hours.
For real. But before we go down that rabbit hole,
I should probably take a quick break.
yeah, let's pause here for a minute and really let all of this sink in. Einstein's genius, his impact, it's pretty overwhelming when you really think about it.
It really is something.
And when we come back, we'll explore some of the modern-day mysteries that I think would have fascinated Einstein. Stay tuned. Okay, so we've been talking about how Einstein's work is still relevant today. But where would his curiosity have taken him next? Like, if Einstein were still around, what mysteries do you think he'd be trying to figure out?
Oh, man, that's a great question. Knowing how fascinated he was by gravity and space-time, I bet he'd be all over dark matter and dark energy.
Those sound like something out of a comic book, not gonna lie.
Right. But here's the thing. We know they're real because we can see how they affect everything around them.
Okay, now I gotta know more.
So picture the universe as this grand play, right? We can see the actors, the stars and galaxies doing their thing, but there's something else going on behind the scenes, pulling the strings, something we can't see.
That's dark matter and dark energy. They like Puppet masters of the universe.
Exactly. Dark matter is like this invisible framework that holds galaxies together.
Yeah.
It doesn't give off light, doesn't absorb it, doesn't reflect. It's invisible to us, but we know it's there because of the way it affects the stuff we can see.
So it's like cosmic glue holding everything together.
Perfect analogy. And then you've got dark energy, which is even weirder.
Okay, now I really got to hear this.
Well, back in the 90s, astronomers discovered something shocking. The universe isn't just expanding, it's expanding faster and faster.
Hold up. Faster. I thought gravity was supposed to pull everything back together.
Makes sense, right? But there's something else going on, something that's counteracting gravity and pushing everything apart at an increasing rate.
And that's dark energy.
Bingo. We don't know exactly what it is, but it's out there, calling the shots on a cosmic scale.
It's kind of mind-blowing, don't you think? Knowing that there are these invisible forces all around us shaping the universe.
It really puts things in perspective. And honestly, I think that's exactly the kind of challenge Einstein would have loved.
I can totally see him pacing around, scribbling equations on a chalkboard, obsessed with figuring out these cosmic forces.
Totally. And who knows, maybe he would have even cracked the code on quantum entanglement, too.
Ah, right. The thing he called spooky action at a distance.
The one and only. It's this crazy phenomenon where two particles are linked even when they're light years apart.
So if you change one, the other one changes instantly, even across these huge distances.
That's the gist of it. It's like they're talking to each other faster than the speed of light, which should be impossible.
No wonder he thought it was spooky.
He can never quite wrap his head around it. It messed with everything he thought he knew about reality.
Have we made any progress on that front? Like, do we understand quantum entanglement better now?
We've come a long way, actually. We can actually demonstrate it in labs now, and it's even being used in things like quantum computers.
Wow. So it's
Yeah.
not just a theory anymore, it's a real thing.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely real, even if we don't fully get it yet. Honestly, I think Einstein would have been frustrated by the mystery, but also excited by the challenge.
Right. Like, here's something that challenges everything you thought you knew, but it's also an opportunity to learn something incredible.
Exactly. And that's what science is all about, isn't it? It's a never-ending quest to understand the universe, even if it means facing more questions than answers.
Totally. And as much as we love Einstein's theories and discoveries, I think his most important legacy might be something else entirely.
Oh, like what?
His curiosity. The way he never stopped asking why, never took anything for granted.
That's a good point.
He showed us how important it is to look deeper, to question everything, and to always be open to new ideas.
And maybe, just maybe, by embracing that curiosity, we'll unlock the next big scientific breakthrough, just like a certain patent clerk did a century ago.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, folks, there you have it. We've explored the life and times of Albert Einstein, from his rebellious school days to his groundbreaking theories. We've only scratched the surface, but hopefully you've learned something new and maybe feel a little more curious about the universe and our place in it. And hey, if you're ready to dive even deeper, be sure to check out Einstein's Greatest Hits. That's the collection of sources that fueled this whole deep dive. Until next time, keep those questions coming, keep exploring, and never lose that sense of wonder.